You're listening to the Public Health Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Dr. Charlotte Huntley. Hello, Dr. Lawrence. How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I'm so excited for our conversation. I'm excited to be here. I will frame the introduction for this podcast, and then we'll move right into our conversation for the topic today. This is Public Health Entrepreneurs, and it is the podcast for any leader who is navigating the space, this intersection of public health and entrepreneurship, leading a business, any entrepreneurial endeavor. And I typically host episodes where it's just me sharing strategic tips and strategies around growing a business and reaching your goals. And occasionally I bring on a guest who serves as an inspiration through their story, offers a service that I think is of help for our listeners. And I think you do both of those. So I'm excited that you're here, and I'd love for you to take a moment and just introduce yourself.
Well, I am so excited to be here. I'm honored that you would have me on your podcast and even think of me as an inspiration. So I appreciate that greatly. I am Dr. Raymona Lawrence. Most people just call me Dr. Raymona. And so I am a person whose passion is to challenge broken systems that keep people from reaching their highest potential. And so that drives me every day. And so I have always loved systems and how you put things together. When I was younger, I loved puzzles. So what is the piece that fits? You want me on your team, right? If we were playing trivia or anything like that, because I was always that person. And so I know that that is my brilliance. And so that has manifested in different ways over the years. For 15 years, I was a public health professor. And so I was a professor. I did community health engagement in sickle cell disease and in rural minority populations specifically. And so even throughout that time when I was doing sickle cell disease research and doing all of the public health activities, I still would always think about what is the system behind this. And so over the years, I just had this burning like, okay, well, maybe I can set up systems and operations for the research centers, or maybe I can set up systems in our college. And I just really wasn't given the opportunity to do that fully. And so I was speaking and I was at a conference last year. And someone said, we have this job where we have sickle cell disease and we have all of these operations that we need done at this foundation. We needed you yesterday. Come. And so my regular job now is a director of operations, but I also am the CEO of the Systems Boutique. So with the Systems Boutique, that is the entrepreneurship journey that I am on. And so with that, I help normally women and minority business owners to set up the back end systems and operations for their businesses. And so when I say I challenge broken systems, right now we live and operate in a broken system. And so we're constantly, as entrepreneurs, trying to move the needle in our businesses, trying to have the same opportunities as other people. And so since we operate in that larger broken system, I just refuse to let people operate under self-imposed brokenness. Right. And so I have the Systems Boutique so that we can look at what are the systems, what are the things that you need to do to move forward in your business so you don't operate in that self-imposed brokenness. So we provide systems, implementation, team, and the strategy. And so I have like a CRM and then the implementation team and then the strategy that people can use as the director of operations. So making this long introduction shorter, I have moved from being a professor, understanding all of the different things that we have in public health to how do we help people to develop the foundation for their businesses so that now we can really combat these public health issues. How do we combat poverty? How do we combat this wealth gap? How do we combat the brokenness in the systems that we have? And so that is what I do in the Systems Boutique.
Love that. Often as entrepreneurs, like we find the gap. And sometimes it's that we've solved our own pain point and then we turn that into a business because we're going to be of service to others. And this curiosity, this interest you've always had in really understanding the systems, and then feeling like you're in a place where you want to do more and you have the capacity, ability to serve more, but not given that opportunity, can feel like your wings are kind of bumping up against the
Mhm.
box a bit. And I say that because that's how I felt. I loved my job. The job I had, the last full-time job I had, was wonderful in every way. I loved everything about it. It's just that I felt like I had like a little more I could do. I wanted to do more. I wanted to serve in a bigger way, and I just never received that opportunity. So I love that you created Systems Boutique and the opportunity to serve. I have a couple of questions as I listen to you describe how you're solving these challenges for business owners in the ways like, how do your clients come to you? Do they understand that they have a systems problem? Do they clearly know that this is what they need? Or how do they show up? Because I imagine that they may not know that this is exactly what it's called.
Yeah, they don't call it systems and operations. Normally, they know that they're overwhelmed. They know that they're tired. They know that they need more space in their business. They know that they have this secret fear that they can't bring on more clients and more people because they're already overwhelmed. They're doing things manually. They're sending out these emails. They're writing these contracts over and over and over again. There's no real structure to how they're doing things. And so I call my business the Systems Boutique because I really curate things to people's exact needs, right? And the other piece of that is that I use fashion terminology. Right. And so I call it the boutique because I love fashion. I love things that are relatable to other people. And to your point, nobody really knows systems and operations. They're like, what does that even mean? And so when I talk to people, I'll say, well, your business is like the designer brand, and my business is like the shapewear. So I provide the support, I provide the things that nobody else sees so that your back end looks smooth and it looks great, what you're presenting to other people, right? And so that is what I do in the Systems Boutique. And so I make sure that they have either the CRM and all the tech and all of that they need. And a lot of people are solopreneurs. So they're like, I'm doing everything. So then I also have a level where I provide the team, and so I have individuals who go and work in the business and they talk to them every day. They set up the systems, they monitor everything. So they can just have the systems, they can have the system and the team, or they can have the systems, the team, and the strategy. So when they have the strategy, that is me coming into their business, being the director of operations, saying, here are the different strategic objectives that you have. Your brain is the CEO. You're the visionary. You're the person who thinks of all the ideas. My brain translates those and says, here's step one, step two, step three, step four, and here's how we actually get it done. And so I partner with people who have those big visions, but who are not able to really execute. And then I give them the tools to execute. So that might be that CRM, that might be the team, and that might be the additional strategy depending on the size of their business.
Oh, that makes so much sense. And I mean, I have an operations assistant manager in my business. And before I had, I'm not even sure how I functioned, but
Mhm.
I understand and appreciate everything that you just described. And I think that also going back before years, because I'm 8 years in business. So those first few years, it's just you. You may get like a VA and you're right, that overwhelmed feeling and you're doing all the things and you're not even slowing down enough to realize what you really need. You're just trying
Mhm.
to patch it up. So I definitely, and I coach from a framework that in order to accomplish your goals, there's kind of three parts to this framework and they all overlap, and operations is one
Mhm.
of those. So how we do business, how we conduct business, how we interact with our clients, how we do everything. What stage of business? I'm also thinking like from the listener's perspective, if they're thinking, maybe I need to talk to Dr. Raymona. What stage of business would be kind of like your ideal client at? I would imagine not brand new, but at like what stage would you describe your ideal client?
So I have different ideal clients. There are clients who are maybe the pre-phase of a client that's in a later journey, but I would work with both of them. And so my ideal client for director of operations services, that person is well established in their business. They're successful. They've gotten to the point to where they can make $250,000-$500,000 per year, and they know what they want to do. They just don't have the systems and operations set up, and they need for somebody to come in. They've kind of been boots on the ground. They have done all of the work. They know the things that need to happen in their business. And now they can have a conversation with me and say, here are the things that I've been doing. How do you make my strategy more efficient? And then how do we move forward? And how do you have more oversight in my business? Right. The person that's pre to that, they are still kind of in that scrappy phase. They've done the business for a while. They know where they want to go, but they still are duct taping different solutions together. They have like 5 or 10 different pieces of tech. They're trying to put it all together. They don't have real strategy. They're waking up in the morning trying to figure out how they're going to get it done today. And a lot of times people are putting out fires. And so they're working their business. They see some movement, but they're still in that phase that, okay, I'm putting out fires. And I come in as, I like to give people the analogy of a meteorologist. So I'm not a firefighter. You might have been fighting fires, but I'm going to come in as the meteorologist and say, here's the strategy to weather the storm. I'm telling you the storm might come. So here are the things that you need to get ready. Let's go ahead and set those things in place so that you now stop fighting fires all the time. And so that person is maybe pre that larger revenue. They might not need me in their business every day, and they may not meet with me as often, but I will set up the tech. They can have the systems. They would even be able to use the team. So there are 2 different levels of that individual. Do you need that deeper strategy and that person actually coming onto your team to direct full operations across different strategic objectives that you have? Or do you need the tech set up and you need some guidance, but you're not ready to have that person to come on as a fractional director of operations or COO for your business?
That makes a lot of sense. I
Mhm.
like the way you explain that and really break that down and help people to understand where they are. That's really important. And not only an important distinction, but it also is helpful that you have these different tiers because you can support in a different place. It's really helpful to hear. And it's really great to hear you even articulate it because you and I talked about this. You were a guest on my other podcast, I guess maybe a year ago.
Mhm.
And I understand so much better, and I feel like you've refined some things from back
Yes.
then to now as we are always growing, so
Yes, absolutely. I will give a shout out to the Goldman Sachs team because I just finished Goldman Sachs program where they do the Million Black Women program for women who are entrepreneurs. And it gave me a lot of clarity. And I know exactly who I'm going to focus on. And so I think coaching is extremely important in making sure that you have someone who will pull those things out of you and who helps you to know who you're going to serve and how you're going to serve them. And so that's definitely something that's important to help you gain clarity.
yes. I love coaching, I do provide that, to some of my clients, but I've also had a really amazing coach for several
Mhm.
years, or some type of coach, because I've been with the same one for several years, but before that, just always having had that guidance from the time I started business. So definitely, I know some other people who've gone through that program too, so I've heard
Mhm.
such great things, so awesome for you as well. Let's see, I have a couple of questions. Let me glance over at my notes here. We've covered some of this just naturally through our conversation here, but this is kind of a fun question to ask, and there's 2 sides of it. I'd like to know what you like the most and what you like the least. So I'll start with what do you like most about consulting and entrepreneurship in this journey?
I love the freedom to impact people in the way that I know that I should without limits. That is the absolute best thing to wake up every day and say, I know what I should be doing, and the only person limiting me is me. I think that's the same negative thing is that it's on me. And you better show up every day and make it happen. Even though I have a wonderful team, the vision is mine, right? And it is a vision that I hold dear to my heart. And so I think, in entrepreneurship, if we're honest, not every day do you want to just get up and just hit the ground running. You have to, it's not like having a W-2, it's like you need to think about what are the systems and the operations and everything that you need in place to ensure that people are moving through this pipeline and they're actually coming into the business and you don't get lax on how you're moving people through that and all of that. And so I think that is the piece that's sometimes scary about running a business is that you can't really slack on making sure that things are moving through in the business until you grow to a point where you can turn that piece completely over to somebody else. It's still, even when you get to that point, you need to be understanding the different pieces of your business. And so I think that's what makes it fun and exhilarating and super scary all at the same time.
Oh, yeah. I feel like that's the perfect storm. I love when those feelings come together. You're in a good place. You mentioned, what you just described is a very important thing to highlight because it is what gets us up every day. It's why we show up. It kind of when you as you described, the freedom and the impact that resonates with me strongly because it is about we're of service. Any public health professional, we're just of service, and that's how we are to our core. So when we're able to show up authentically who we are 100% with no restrictions and show up and be able to have that type of impact in the lives of another person, which then filters into who they serve. That's beyond, a paycheck or the benefits of a job. That's legacy, that's
Mhm.
purpose and it feels wonderful. So yes, it comes with some scary feelings and because it stretches us, but the rewards are so much greater when we step into, this type of calling because I feel it's a calling. This type of work is
Absolutely.
not everyone, but certain people are called to this venture, this journey.
Mhm.
I also think it's interesting that it's more of a reminder that we get to decide what it looks like for us. Because another question I was going to ask, but it's already been covered here, was some people will be 100% in their business. Some people will have another job, career move, and then they're running their business simultaneously. And we get to decide what that looks like and how we do that. I know that when I started my business, I was working, full time in a job that like I described. I was really happy with that
Mhm.
position. And I never imagined actually leaving. I thought that I had it structured very well. The opportunity came along and there was a point where, I kind of had a decision to make because of the way the business was growing. Either I let go of the job and go all in this direction
Mhm.
because I'd gone as far as I could go with managing the 2, and I hit that point and I hadn't thought about it, in advance, but made the decision and continued on, and we always are faced with, like, these decisions to make, but I feel like there is the opportunity. Some people hate the work that they do and they can't wait to leave. Some people leave the work completely, jump 100% into the business and they make it work. There's no right or wrong. It's the unique decision to that individual. And I think you're just a great example. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Some things are going to be right for some, and some things are going to be right for other people. And for me, it felt like a misalignment to be a professor in public health. After so long, I was so into the systems and the operations piece that I was like, okay, I want to move into that more. I didn't want to move into just complete entrepreneurship, so I moved into a job as a director of operations. So I still have that full-time job, and I'm the director of operations for other people's businesses within my own business. And so that is a way to get more of the alignment if you're not ready to leave a W-2 position, you can say, okay, what's more aligned with what I want to do in my business? Then move into that, and then eventually, move into the full-time entrepreneurship if you want to. And I think the other piece of that is that it's no shame in if you were a full-time entrepreneur and you want to move back into a job. There are
Absolutely.
different phases in life, and if you need to move between them at any point in time, that's perfectly fine. And so I think we have to get out of saying it has to look a certain way. We have to work this many years in our job and we should be ready to move into entrepreneurship. No, some people never quit their job and they do great in their business. And one thing that I always urge people to think about is the book by Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy, and it's the who, not the how,
Yes.
right? And so we have to think about I would not be able to do a full-time job and my business if I didn't have my team. My team does a lot of the work during the week and I meet with the clients. I do a lot more of the client-facing activities, but you do it by setting up systems that allow you to rest, that allow you to do both if you need to. And if you're able to step away, that's wonderful. If you're not, it's all good in that as well.
That is a great point. The structure in the team, because also that's how I was able to run my business and run
Mhm.
my full-time job is I had team from the beginning, almost, I tested it out, but it didn't take me long to know I want to be doing this podcasting thing. I like the taste of this entrepreneurial route and I needed team in order to be able to do both. So definitely great point to highlight there. And, just kind of tying it back to your initial part about freedom. We have the freedom to design this whatever feels right for us and at whatever season. It's an incredible journey for those that, feel called to do so. Yes, it's
Mhm.
scary and we get to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And, just again, the rewards will exceed your expectations. That's for sure.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So I will ask this question because I know I can see the connection already, but I really love to hear you. And in what ways are you advancing public health in your business?
I think that I was saying this earlier that when we think about systems, public health, we think about systems all the time, right? We think about socioeconomic status of rural minority communities, the people that are in my ecosystem within my business, they live all over the country, right? But they are people who are able to contribute back to their communities because they are closing the wealth gap, because they are able to affect other communities and other people with the work that they're doing. And so I think that is absolutely what we do in public health. We affect communities, right? And we make sure that people have what they need to thrive. And so I think that's what I'm doing. I feel like I still do public health because I make sure that people are healthy and wealthy and strong and mentally able to rest because I say systems are self care, right? When you have systems in place, then you're able to rest. You're able to run your business in a way that it's not just draining you and it's not leading to burnout. And so all of those things are the way that I continue to affect public health in my business, along with the fact that, I mean, I still do all the sickle cell work and community engagement and all of that, but engaging people, ensuring that they're able to take that work back and translate it to their communities is what I absolutely do.
That's incredible. As always, this has been such a pleasure to chat with you. I've enjoyed the time. And we're going to have the links of, to your website and LinkedIn and so forth, how to connect with you. But just for someone listening now, what would be the best place for them to find you and connect with you?
Yeah, go to thesystemsboutique.com. That is thesystemsboutique.com. And you will find any information about me, how to book a call. If you want to learn about systems, operations, all of the different things that I do, all of it is there. And so if you head over there, thesystemsboutique.com, you will find me and any social media. So I'm also on Instagram as Dr. Ramona H. Lawrence. And then on LinkedIn is Ramona Holloway Lawrence.
Awesome. Awesome. And we'll make sure that, like I said, this will be linked on the show notes page for this episode. Thank you so much. I'll have to make sure to invite you back again to this podcast for
Absolutely.
updates.
Yes.
And I look forward to seeing you again soon. It's been a while since I've gotten the opportunity to actually give you a hug, and I miss that. So we'll have to make sure it
Yes.
happens. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Visit publichealthentrepreneurs.com to learn more.